I say this every single year, but time really does fly when you're getting a prick in the bum. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back folks, lovely to see you, and a very big welcome to anyone who is new. So today's video is a transition topic, and I've just hit 7 years on testosterone. Not quite sure where that time went. So this video is going to be my annual review of the changes on testosterone over this last year. It's mostly about hair. Before we get stuck in, if you are new around here, my name is Finn and I make content on gender transition, mental health and LGBT lifestyle. If you like what you see here, I'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel because it really helps. And when you do, tick the notification bell and then you'll be notified of every Finstallment. Wow, so 7 years on testosterone. So I had my first testosterone injection in 2013 on the 9th of April. And I started off on Nebido, which is a 12 weekly injection. People have them anywhere between 10 and 14 weeks depending on your levels. I've been 12 weeks most of the way through until the last couple of years when I moved to 10 weeks, and my levels have maintained themselves throughout the whole of my transition. And I love Nebido because you don't have to have it very often, and it's also a very nice kind of gradual up and down testosterone, because obviously you have peaks and troughs when you have testosterone levels, and for some of the shorter acting testosterones there can be a bit of a peak and a trough. As somebody with a mood disorder, I like things to be as stable as possible, so with Nebido you get a kind of more flattened curve. We're hearing too much about flattened curves at the moment rather than that peak in the middle. So been on Nebido all the way through and it clearly works. Even at 7 years on testosterone, it is still incredible for me to look back at old photos and see the changes I've made from then to now. So at this point in my gender transition, I only make these kind of testosterone updates once a year, mainly because in terms of the physical changes at this point in my transition, they're now very subtle, and because I've been on testosterone for such a long time and I'm 46, the changes on testosterone have now kind of like moulded in to the general changes of ageing. Because despite appearances, I ain't no spring chicken. Looking back at the years though, I can see that my face does continue to change, and I think some of that's helped by the kind of changing hairline, because I'm leaning back far more than I once was. I mean, it's a bit hard to tell at the moment because I've not had a haircut since the beginning of March because we have this stupid coronavirus happening and I can't get to a hairdresser's. And I'm not letting my boyfriend anywhere near me with a pair of clippers. But my hair on my head has thinned an awful lot. And I did make a video on that recently and I'll send you a link to that. But I also do want to note that a lot of my hair thinning is also likely to be down to my low thyroid as well. I have hypothyroidism, so that causes your hair to fall out and thin. But either way, I think that this changing hairline has in turn changed my face again as well. That, and I've eaten a few too many tubs of Ben & Jerry's. Hair is one of those things that continues to develop, which always takes me by surprise. At this point, I have become pretty much a gorilla. Is there really any need for that? It just amazes me where hair can grow at this point. But that is also something that happens for many men as they get older, is they tend to get much hairier. I mean, I can see it in my own partner who has random hair patches on his back. I now have those as well. Why they are just random islands of hair, I don't know. At 7 years on T, I have a full beard, but my tash is still missing. Now I'm growing this at the moment, again thanks to the coronavirus. I'm refusing to shave till all this pandemic is over, and so this is the first time I've actually let this grow this much. And this still isn't happening, there's no tash. I have like some thicker bits here and then some patchy bits. So I still look like a minion. But hey, it's a beard. But again, this isn't uncommon for any men. A lot of men don't manage to grow a full beard until they're older. So if you think, I'm 7 years into my transition, I'm 7 years into puberty, that would put me, if I'd have started my puberty early as a man, if I'd been born male, then I would probably be about in my mid-20s now, puberty-wise. And a lot of men find that it's like in their late 20s, 30s that their beards really develop. So that is probably why, and I'm hoping, please God of hair moustaches, that this will catch up one day and I'll be able to grow one of those tea skimmers and I can style it and have rainbow patterns in it. Tash goals. In terms of body changes, I don't really think, in terms of the testosterone anyway, that there are any body changes to mention. I don't really notice any more fat distribution or anything like that, mainly because I still have a problem with eating my feelings, and I clearly have a lot of feelings. So I'm pushing maximum density still. And you know what? That's actually the wonderful thing about transition, is I don't care now. Before transition, I had a lot of problems with eating disorders. I kept myself skinny because it kept my figure boyish. Now I'm 100% confident in my maleness. I sound male, look male, am male. I don't care if my belly is overhanging, you know, so that's okay. It's a good job because I really have trouble saying no to Mr. Ben and Mr. Jerry. At this point in my transition, it's really the emotional and social changes that are having the biggest impact, especially because last year I finished my entire medical transition. I've had top surgery and lower surgery, and for me that's what I needed to feel confident, comfortable and free of dysphoria. And that, having my chest and my penis, the feeling of just being complete, of having myself represented on the outside, of being able to look in the mirror and see me, being able to kind of like just touch myself, whether it's in the shower or just accidentally, whether Chris puts his hand on me, all of that is so gender affirming. And I really understand for the first time ever what gender euphoria is, because to have all of this match is just absolutely beyond words, incredibly joyful. And I always struggle to talk about it without having a few tears, because to go from feeling like your body is this alien thing that you move an arm and it does something else, that's how it feels. It feels like you're moving in a body that isn't reflecting you, and that feeling is so painful. That's gender dysphoria. And to live that day in and day out, to wake up and hear a voice that isn't yours, to see a body that isn't yours, is so soul destroying. And so the opposite end, to feel that complete, I'm at home in my body, it's me, people are seeing me, it's such a beautiful feeling that in comparison it's just like wow, and it blows me away still at 7 years on T. Slight emotional moment there. I think being me would be the title to this 7th year on testosterone, because there's been a few things that have happened that have really helped me to kind of move into this state of being where I know 100% who I am and I'm really comfortable in who I am. One of those was most certainly meeting my partner, accepting myself to be gay and meeting somebody and then falling in love. That's really been incredibly gender affirming, because it took me a while to feel confident about my masculinity. And so for a long time I fought against being gay because I didn't want to be feminized. And I was also fighting against this natural personality in me that is quite flamboyant. And I was squashing that down for fear of being feminized. And that's been the most beautiful thing over the last year especially, has been embracing this aspect of my personality, of understanding that I can be whoever I want to be. I'm still male. Nothing takes away from the fact that I'm male. And to be comfortable in my gender identity, my gender expression, to be able to be free to play with that gender expression, and to be a proud gay man, it's just a beautiful feeling. And that's been a real cemented thing in this last year. That, and it's pretty wonderful to be in love. Most of you know that this year was a bit tough in terms of like the last 12 months. I lost mum, and that was a huge challenge to my sobriety and to my mental health. And I absolutely know that one of the main reasons I got through that is that I have a body I can be at home in. And I can see for a lot of my addiction issues and my mental health challenges, if you don't have a stable sense of somewhere you feel safe, you can't work on these things. You can't cope with daily life because life is up and down. It's just the nature of it. And we need to feel safe somewhere to be able to deal with that. And because I didn't even have a home in my body, I couldn't manage to even begin to address the anxiety, the depression and all of the addiction issues. But now that I have a body I'm at home in, it's much easier to, even when the darkest times are happening, like losing mum, no matter how, and I did sink quite low at the time when I lost mum, having this sense of comfort underneath, of security, as a very base level in my very soul, means that I can deal with life now. It doesn't mean that I've transitioned and everything is perfect, but what it means is I have this sense of okayness deep in my body that I never had. And so no matter what goes on and however uncomfortable I am whenever anything happens, I can always access that and know that I'll be okay. Did that make sense? This year has also been the year I've really been free to start making my way in the world, and I couldn't do that while I was transitioning, really. I mean, I was studying whilst I was transitioning, and I was trying to look at ways to build my career after my transition finished, but it's really hard to get on with life when you have you that doesn't represent you. It's hard to kind of go and get a job and progress down the career path when people aren't yet seeing who you actually are, and when you've got surgery deadlines hanging over your head, when you've got recovery times. All of that does get in the way of trying to build a life, and it's really important that you don't put life on hold when you're going through transition, but at the same time it is a real challenge to keep chipping away at your own personal development through that time. And now to be at the end of my medical transition and to have all of this time now where I can just go and be me. I can now start my life where I would have done had I gone through the correct puberty and not lost all my years to poor mental health and addiction. Now I'm free, finally, at the age of 46, or 45 this last year, to now go and be me. And now I'm building this career, and I'm writing, and I'm making videos, and all of these things that I'm doing. It's my time to be me. And that feels absolutely frigging fantastic. So to try and sum up this 7th year on testosterone, at this point in my transition, it is actually quite difficult to talk about just changes on testosterone at 7 years, because now that I've had so many other experiences over these 7 years, not just the testosterone, but also the surgeries, life experience, aging, all of these are now factoring into my transition. Because let's face it, we don't transition in a vacuum. We are far more than just our gender. We are far more than the testosterone changes. These things all come together. But that's the key thing. Once your body does start to come together and represent you, you can then build a personality. And this is something I've talked about before. I was diagnosed with a personality disorder years ago, and I'm actually wondering now whether a lot of that was due to gender dysphoria. How on earth could I build an identity, a personality, knowledge of myself, when my insides were so different to my outsides and I didn't know, you know? So that, I think, now is what is the biggest change now as the years are going on, is I'm really getting stronger and stronger in who I am, my knowledge of myself, my personality, my traits. All of these things are really mine for the first time. They're not traits that are trying to hide something or traits that are trying to portray me as something. It's just me that is gradually being given birth to over these last 7 years, thanks to the changes on testosterone, but also thanks to the interactions I've had and the surgeries I've had that have helped me to grow into the man I am today. That really wasn't summed up particularly well, was it? But I hope you get what I mean. Even though it is hard to just talk about testosterone changes at this time, I will always make these yearly updates because I think it's really important for people to see that you can go through transition and be happy. I remember being at the very beginning of this journey and seeing this massive mountain of all the stuff I had to do. Come out as trans, go to a doctor, get a referral, wait for this, wait for that, go on hormones. It seemed huge, and it is huge, but all mountains get scaled 1 foot at a time. And it is inevitable, by putting 1 foot in front of the other, that you will reach the top of that mountain. And so I will always make these just to help people to feel a bit inspired, reassured, to see that this journey is not only possible, but it's absolutely incredible, even with all of its difficulties, all of the frustrations. It's so worthwhile, because that journey of 1 step at a time, getting to know yourself, finding yourself, is the most beautiful journey anyone can ever go on. And that's why I talk about being so proud as a trans man. I am so grateful of the journey I've gone through, because it's made me who I am today, far more than any testosterone has. Well, that was a bit of a waffle today, wasn't it? If you have any questions about the gender transition journey, if you'd like to know anything, please do leave me a message in the comments below. Always really happy to help. If you'd like to see more of these milestone videos and see my changes on testosterone over time, I shall link you to a playlist here. And if you want any more information and advice on transgender issues, there is a playlist of videos here. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care of yourselves, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you next week.